I mentioned this earlier, a day ago, I think, and I tried to define it. In China, they have barefoot doctors, and it basically means a doctor who has almost no resources. It's really just the doctor, without lots of equipment and lots of medicines and things. So a barefoot teacher would be a teacher who doesn't have a course book and lots of handouts and lots of technology. It's just the teacher on his own. And somebody suggested I should rewrite this and call it the naked teacher. But I thought that might give you the wrong impression. So for the moment I'm going to stick with barefoot teacher. Here's 4 barefoot activities. I think every teacher needs a few barefoot activities so that you can put down your course book and say, okay, course book's good, but I'm going to do something myself now without the book. Something for a short or a long period of time that will be me working with the students. Something very simple, very obvious, are personal anecdotes, personal stories. I love using personal stories with my students. Just saying, what I did last night. Maybe talking about how I made supper last night, or how I went out to a restaurant and had a terrible meal, or a good meal, or whatever. The interesting thing about personal anecdotes is that they don't need to be exciting stories. They don't need to have just drama in them. Just saying something about your life. A little story about what you did last week, last night, and my general experience is that students love hearing that kind of thing from their teacher. And the nice thing is it's entirely pedagogically valid, because it's fantastic exposure to real English being used. The students are trying to understand what you say. Their hearing language is maybe slightly above their current level, so they're getting exposure to language that may be a little bit difficult for them, but they're trying to understand it, which is probably very, very good, very sound. Hello, latecomers. There are some seats at the front here, if you dare. You don't dare, okay. A very easy set of barefoot activities are dictation. Dictation is one of those things that, when I first started teaching, was definitely out. And then the pendulum swung, and they were in. And then they went out again, I think, and I don't know where they are at the moment, so I've lost track. But you know the way we have fashions in language teaching, things come and go. I've always loved dictations. I think they're fantastic. There's obviously the traditional dictation, where the teacher has a text, and the teacher simply reads the text to the students, and the students write down the words. That's actually quite useful, so long as you're not too horrible as a teacher and you don't tell the students off in a cruel way for getting lots of mistakes. It's actually a very useful activity. It's more than just spelling, it's thinking about the grammar of a sentence, learning how texts fit together. There's a lot of value in a dictation. But there's also lots of variations. If you're interested in variations, have a look at the book by Ricardo Hinostroza called Dictation, which is a very, very good collection of interesting and sometimes crazy ideas about what you can do with dictation. I'll just mention 1 or 2 at the moment. I'll mention the bad cold dictation. The bad cold dictation. You come into class and you tell your students, I'm very sorry, but today I've got a terrible cold. And I keep coughing and sneezing. So I'm going to give you a dictation. But if I cough or sneeze and you can't hear a word, write down the words you think I would have said. Yeah? So then you get the dictation and you say something like, yesterday Maria had for breakfast. And the students all write down what they think it should be. Which means that afterwards you have some fun, because the students can get into pairs or threes and they can compare their answers. Yesterday Maria had eggs for breakfast. Yesterday Maria had bacon for breakfast. Yesterday Maria had whiskey for breakfast. The nice thing is there's not